All right, thanks everybody for coming out. I'm just going to tell a little story about how we had the opportunity to educate 4 agents from the Center of Disease Control on our farm last year. So I think it all started out when me and my wife got together in 1999 at a cannabis raid in San Diego at our collective shelter from the storm, where I was arrested for 448 cannabis plants, and she was so on the spot that day, and I felt she'd saved my life that day that I pursued her, and we've been together ever since. We're kind of living our dream on our farm. When NIOSH came to the farm, last year about March, I got a call from the union, and the union got a call from OSHA that some kid in New Mexico had killed himself in a BHO explosion. And they wanted to know if I could introduce him to JD from Skunk Farm Research. For you that don't know, he's kind of wrote the Bible on all cannabis concentrates and how you make them and stuff like this. He's been open source. He's probably the original guy, super knowledgeable. And through that, we helped OSHA, gave them some key information about hydrocarbons and how they work and why the explosion happened. So through that meeting, we met a lady from the union. She works out of Washington, D.C., and then she told me that the federal government had put some money aside for cannabis workplace health and safety, and asked me if I'd like to participate in the project. And I always say yes in this industry. You never get a chance to like double back. So I always say yes and jump in and see how it's going to go. So the way it happened was she called me in May of last year and said, I'm going to fill the paperwork out. Are you still good to go? And I said, yes, we're good to go. And then about 2 weeks later, I got on the phone with 10 agents from the CDC, and that's Center of Disease Control. And the way it goes down to the federal government is Department of Health and Human Services is like the main agency. Below them is the CDC, and below them is OSHA and NIOSH. OSHA does all the enforcement, and where NIOSH does they do all the testing, and they write all the reports, and they get all the safety information up so OSHA can write the laws and then enforce them. So they asked me, I got on the phone with them. The first thing I found out is they knew nothing about cannabis, and I asked them if they would be interested to coming to into our world, and I would give them a tour of the industry and kind of show them what cannabis was all about before they actually came for the health hazard evaluation, which is the original reason they were going to be there. So I had this whole place set up. We were going to come into Oregon and end up in Seattle at the B2B before Hemp Fest last year. So I ran around the state. I've got a bunch of people signed on, and I send them the itinerary. They're all excited, and then like 3 days later, I get a call and saying, we can't have our agents like jumping around across state lines. They're going to these places. We're not sure if they're legal or illegal, but what we can do is we can make your farm a secure location in the eyes of the federal government. That means federal agents can come to your farm, legally touch, handle, and learn about cannabis. Are you okay with that? So, like I said, never say no. and they said yes. So, in the meantime, I started getting the same people to come to the farm. Not everybody's lawyers would let them. A lot of the lawyers that work for a lot of these companies would not let them come to my farm and would not let them participate, but a few of them did. And so what we did last year, it was about that was the 9th and 10th of August, and so I knew they were coming from first day. So me and my lawyer met him at the gate, and my wife, and we're pretty friendly folks. We gave them a big hug, and they came in, and then we had Seattle Super Chronics there doing like a farm to table, because we have an organic vegetable CSA also on our farm. So they harvested all the fresh vegetables and they brought them to a chef, and the chef cooked all these meals. And then we had like Triminator there and a bunch of people. We brought in a bunch of unprocessed cannabis to process in front of them and just kind of get them used to what they're going to see in October. We also brought in JD from Skunk Farms, and I brought in Dana from Goat Labs. and we went over everything, as much cannabis as we can, the endocannabinoid system, the entourage effect, the difficulties that the pharmaceutical companies will have in producing, pharmaceuticals out of cannabis, because it'll never be the same. So it was really great to have the chance to sit down with them and talk to them one-on-one for 2 days. So the first thing we did, as being an activist like I always am, and I'm always about normalizing cannabis. That's kind of my tagline out there, one of them. So before we started, we sat over there. They were sitting, waiting for the first demonstration, and we sat over there and we did a couple dabs and we smoked a couple joints, and then we said, okay, now we're going to educate you guys, because you have one chance at breaking the myth that all stoners are lazy and stupid and dumb, and doing one dab, you're drooling in the corner. So we wanted to bust those myths, clear out of the water, so that they have a real perception of what the whole lifestyle is, not just the industry, but what the whole lifestyle is, and where it started, and how the origins of all that stuff. So, and they were super receptive. They never looked down on us, they hung with us. We went through a bunch of different training sessions. Like I said, we trimmed for them, and then I brought in JD from Skunk Farm Research, and he talked all about hydrocarbons. We talked all about CO2s and the different types of concentrates out there. Then I brought in Dana from Goat Labs, and we educated about testing and all the different protocols and what's wrong with testing now and what we think the best way to go. My pet peeve on the whole deal is nitrogen sealing. I'm a big, huge fan of nitrogen sealing. I think it should be a must on every product out there. You stick a 13% nug in a sealed baggie for 30 days and it's going to have mold on it. I'm sorry, that's not good for the industry. That's not good for the first-time consumer. That's just not good. And so we really have to, put our best foot forward. I pressed on them the whole time, and during the HHE, the second time we did nitrogen sealing for them. So what happened between then and then? They came and they left. They spent 2 days with us. We actually went out to dinner and had beers and pizza, and we would go outside like we usually do, smoke a joint halfway through. And so we really wanted to get them used to that cannabis isn't this lethal thing, and it's not alcohol, and it's not heroin, and it's not meth, and it's none of those things. So so that went by, and it was really a great couple days. What we learned from them is that James, the guy that we educated, was now the head of cannabis for the federal government. He was the top guy. And so that really kind of tickled me, when he was walking us down the path, and he basically said, yeah, you just kind of educated the top guy in the federal government now. So that made me feel pretty good. And then the impression we left on him through the whole few days was pretty remarkable. We sent Christmas cards to each other. We've all become friends. What I really loved about the federal government at the agents they brought, it really represented America. It was, every nationality, race, creed. James, the head guy, is like 3.5 bills, and then his assistant Mary, she was like 75 pounds. They all have multiple PhDs. One of the guys, Kertan, who was with the first crew that we educated on the farm in August, he had just spent 2 years in Africa, behind a glass booth examining Ebola victims. So they actually pulled him off of that, out of Africa, and brought him to my farm. I think he made me use some stress control or something like that. Let's kind of chill him out, because it can be pretty stressful looking at all those dead bodies all the time. So I'm going to fast forward to October. It was October 21st. So their whole deal is collecting data. They want workplace health and safety. So they want to find out about the endotoxins and rapid hand movement and repetitive movement and just all these different things, so they can have a baseline on which to form workplace health and safety standards for the whole cannabis industry. So they hooked us up with, each day they would hook us up with these sniffers over here. Like this one she's hooking on now, that's a dust sniffer, and this one over here is endotoxins. Endotoxins picks up microbes and molds and all that kind of stuff that they were really concerned would have an impact on the workers. The dust picks up just dust. It just wants to see what's in the air. So the first day they were there, I wanted to give them as much data as I could. So the first day they were there, I did all trimming. All harvesting. I had 10 plants left to harvest. We went through the greenhouse and harvested and big leafed and got all the plants prepared. And that was the day that they had the highest endotoxin. The highest reports of everything was on the day of actual harvesting, with all the dust from the plants and the crystals and everything flying around. That was the highest day, and it came in well below the Netherlands standards that had been set previously, I think in the 90s sometime. So they came through, they did the endotoxins. The second day we did all shucking. So we took our cannabis plants. I had a fresh product ready to harvest, and then I had a product hanging ready to dry to be shucked. And then the third day was trimming. So the second day we spent all day shucking, like every which way we could figure out. We used all the way from the punching of the holes in the Altoids can, ripping them through, to like manually clipping them off, to a bunch of different ways of stripping the buds off of the plant. And I think that was the day that they were bored to tears. But the third day was pretty exciting because they hooked us up to they hooked us up to this ergonomic glove over here. The glove they have on it, it's not ergonomic. It tracks repetitive motion. So what they were able to do is I brought in like 10 or 12 trimmers, and we all spent like a half an hour, all the way from my top trimmer girlfriends of mine that can do like pounds a day, all the way to me. I'm an average about a pound a day. And then we had people, 3/4 of a pound, something like that. So we had pretty much the whole gamut, and they were able to collect data to start, capturing to see where the hazards are in the cannabis industry. So it's been a really great experience to be able to work with these guys and give them data. We started getting the first results back, I believe in March. I saw the endotoxin report showed up, and it said we were well below. And I've been getting verbals on the rest of them, and they all look really great. We were up temporarily on their website. They got okayed for us. I guess we're going to be on their website, and they're doing a report that's going to be published in September. From what I heard, the website went up for like a half an hour. And then the guy from the Center for Disease Control, he gave it his blessing originally, but he didn't get the final blessing. So he made him take it down, and it hasn't resurfaced yet. It's been about, 5 weeks since it went up and came down. But I talk to these guys on a regular basis. They're just real people, and they're really open to learning about cannabis and finding out about more about how we can help the workers, because and in this industry, it's going to be tough because the kids that are out there and they work in these dispensaries and they work at these grows and stuff, that's the best job in the world. Are you kidding? They're swimming in marijuana daily. You get to handle, touch cannabis. The last thing they want to do is lose their job. You know what I mean? So the fear is that they're not saying a lot about what's ailing them, what the repetitive motions and the tasks that they're doing that could be damaging to them. So it's really been great that they stepped forward and put some money into this ahead of all of it, because they're doing like 3 reports. So they did me first, and I know the reason they picked me is because we're basically where cannabis came from. Like I said, we grow organic vegetables and we organic cannabis, and we do a CSA, and we're just all about the lifestyle. So they really want to start at ground zero with us. The next place where I heard they were going to is the guys from the Mayo Clinic started a place up in Minnesota. So it's basically the other end of the spectrum. So they went from me, a dirt farmer, to these indoor grows that's all going to be turned into oil. And then the last place, I think Louisiana is going to be the last one for their HHE. Louisiana as a state's coming on, and I think they're looking at it a pretty interesting way. It's going to be a state-run project in Louisiana, where Baton Rouge Community College and LSU will be growing all of the cannabis for Louisiana. And then each of the parishes, similar to Don Stevens, the marijuana mayor up here in Washington, off the Columbia River at North Bonneville, he has a city-owned dispensary, which I think is a brilliant model. I really think that's the way you're going to push it across the Bible Belt, Oklahoma, Tennessee, all those crazy places where they're totally against it. I think that's the only way you're really going to get it so they're acceptable. At North Bonneville up here, in a year and a half, he hired 17 locals, fixed all the potholes, pun intended, and they were able to hire another sheriff. So, and that's kind of a really big deal. And the citizens really they know their money's going to something and not just going to another rich guy or another rich corporation that wants to come in and fleece the community. The money stays there in the community, it goes back in, then the community starts to embrace the store. Like in North Bonneville, they thought it was going to be like a hash den or an opium den where everybody's like passed out and drooling in the corner. All the old people in the community, so they all went down and they gave them their things. We don't want to buy anything, we just want to take a look. And they went in there and looked more like a Starbucks, with all this bright packaging and this really nice stuff. So it really changed their minds. So that's what we're out here doing. We're normalizing cannabis, one fed at a time, and we're just educating the people every way we can. And we're just out here with a smiling face showing that cannabis is really a normal thing. It's in every aspect, every culture around the world. It's as diverse as the American government hiring practices, let me put it that way, which was pretty impressive by my measure. That was one of the things that impressed me most about our government when the officials came, is just how diverse it was. So, and all these guys have at least one or two PhDs, and Creton, he has actually had 7, and they used to tease him. They would go, they all have 1 or 2. And that's pretty impressive on its own, but they would go, ooh, Creton has 7 PhDs. So anyways, they're just real people doing their real job, just out there doing the best they can. When they first got in touch with me, they said, what varieties do you grow? So I started off with all my varieties of beets that I grow. Then I went into carrots, and I went into cannabis indica, cannabis hybrid, cannabis sativa, tomatoes, watermelon, the whole gamut, all the way through. And they loved it because these guys that James, he's stationed in Iowa. So Iowa's a big farming community area. And so they really liked the whole thing that I brought it into agriculture, because it really is agriculture. Just like the speaker before us, we're not doing anything different. This is we're just growing another product, whether it be a daisy or a lily or whatever, we're basically growing another agricultural products, and you're going to have failures, and you're going to have, it's just part of the industry. So if anybody has any questions, I usually go on a little bit longer, but I don't know, how am I doing here? Yeah, we have plenty of time. Anybody have any questions?
What about the DEA and the health? Do they work together, or what's that?
Well, so for them to be able to come to my farm, they told me I was going to have a Department of Justice background review and check. And so I was okay with that. I said, have at it, because we obey the laws. I've never been a mailer or a big baller. I'm not, running pounds all over the place. That's kind of not my style. I'm an organic farmer. We live on our farm. We take care of ourselves. We take care of a few patients. I built a great brand over the years through all of this stuff. And as far as the DEA goes, they kind of loosely work together. From what I've heard from James, I talk to him, like I said, about once a week, that a bunch of other agencies, since this first action has happened, a bunch of other agencies are really interested in it and are now participating in the rest of the HHEs. So the government moves really slowly, as we know, kind of like at a turtle's pace, but we just got to keep out there and pushing it forward. Anybody else have any questions?
Could you see some of the momentum that the positive momentum and inertia that you've been kind of building and working through with the government? Can you see that being hemmed up by change president or other agencies? I mean, or is it kind of on its own?
Well, I would really hope that it's on its own. Workplace health and safety is a huge thing in this country, but if we get somebody like the Republican guy out there, their biggest fear at the farm when they were there, especially in August, is we sat down and we rolled some joints in front of them at lunch. I said, okay, it's lunch. We're going to roll some joints. And then my buddy Josh was filming it, but they all kind of slept away from the table, and then I asked James later, he said, well, what we're really afraid of is some Republican senator getting a hold of the video of us sitting at a table with a Schedule I controlled substance, with guys rolling fat joints and then smoking them, So that was their big concern, out of everything that happened in both times, I think the rolling of the joints at the table was the thing that scared them the most. The videos of that, like the pre-consumption, that really kind of, yeah, stop. That's the thing I think that really scared them the most. But everything else was pretty great, and they've been super cool through the whole process. And like I say, I talk to them whenever I want, and they're interested, and they want to make workplaces safe, and they really are proud of themselves, especially NIOSH, that they were able to jump ahead of an emerging industry like this and get going on it and get standards put in place, especially since it's Schedule I drug. So it was a big task for them, and they were teetering on the line too. So it was a big tiptoe, and nobody actually knew where it was going to come up, but as of the last time I talked to James, probably about a week and a half ago, there had been like 0 complaints from any not a peep in the government had any complaints. Only positive stuff about the investigation, not really the investigation, the reports that they did, and yeah, they're really excited about the outcome. They really can't wait to get it published. It should be really soon when it's coming out online, and I'm looking forward to that too. It should be pretty exciting. It really kind of tells us, because I go to a lot of these things and everybody says the feds aren't doing anything. Well, actually they are doing something, you know what I mean? And they're doing it the way that's comfortable for them to do it. And right now, workers' health and safety is the number one, and we kind of really have to thank the union for that, because they really worked with NIOSH and kind of pushed this whole thing forward. So, the union, everybody has mixed feelings about the union in the industry, but they were out there trying to do a good thing, and I think they brought awareness to the federal government about cannabis and cannabis safety, and I think we were able to bring a new perspective to some of the agents of the federal government. So when they talk to these other agencies, and maybe when they get in front of the FDA and these people, they can actually enlighten them and say, look, I spent days with these people, and all they did was smoke pot, like constantly, you know what I mean? So, hopefully they can take that down the road and educate other people in the government and make really normalize cannabis and take the stigma away from it. That's basically been my main thing through the whole thing, because I was stigmatized by being a cannabis user in my family since like day one, So, and it's pretty interesting now. I just had my cousin, and he went to medical school at Boston College, and all of his buddies he went to school with, they all were on a bicycle trip, and they came to my farm last weekend, and I gave them the full tour. And at first they were a little scared, but by the end of the thing, even my cousin, who's super conservative, and he actually went and got a medical degree so he could write about medicine. And he got hired right out of college to Bloomberg. So it was easy. It was great to have him there, and now he follows me on Facebook, and he's liking all my posts, and he really gets it. You know what I mean? He gets it. And so if I could do little chunks like that all the time, either with the federal government or my cousins. Now I've got other cousins going, oh, we'd love to come to the farm. Yeah, can we sleep in the greenhouse? And all these things that we've done over the years. We did the first outdoor cannabis tours in the world at our farm through Kush Tours. I think it's like 3 years ago now, which was pretty exciting. I got to meet Becky here, who's been a good friend for several years, and I got to meet a lot of really great people. You know, I mean, in this emerging industry, really, the media is your friend now, you know what I mean? When we all got into this, the two things you didn't do was, you know, show your plants, you know, show pictures of your plants to the public and talk to the media. None of that. So I took the opposite approach. I was like, I'm going to show pictures of my plants every day, and I'm going to talk to anybody who wants to talk to me. So that's the way you normalize cannabis. You kind of just go at it fearless, and, you know, being a victim of the war on drugs and getting arrested really turns you into the activist like that. Because the worst thing in the world that could possibly in your world could happen to you, and you live to survive another day. So really what it does is just makes us stronger and more fearless, and, you know, just easier to push the movement along. Tasha?
Do you do any consulting from Tom?
Oh yeah, we do consulting. I've been in the industry for 30 years, so I've got a really good idea on how the industry works. I consult new people that come into the industry. If they have an idea and then they want to run forward to it and they don't have any cannabis experience, this is where I come in. You know, I've seen things come and go, and like I can walk people out on that floor and say, don't buy that, buy that, but you know, where to spend your money and what to spend your money. And I can really see what's coming down the pike as far as products, you know, and some of the strong products that started out there in the beginning aren't going to be the strong products at the end. So I just see there's a big flux out there. You know, I don't know anybody who likes CO2 oil, really. You know, I mean, none of my friends do. You know, we like a good distillate or a good rosin or something a little bit, you know, that's pretty natural, but it's something really natural, you know, where you're getting all those pure terpene profiles and you're getting all those tastes, aromas, all those sensations. That's what everybody's looking for. So if anybody wants to sit down for a couple hours, I'm always available. We do them on the farm tour. You're more than welcome to come out and take a little tour of the farm, sit down for a couple hours, and yeah, that's kind of what we do. We're out there. We do. I'm doing some. I got a really strong brand out there, and after a few years ago, when I figured out I'm going to make it, my idea was, well, how can I help all my friends that aren't going to make it, that don't have the strong brand, who are just really good farmers. So my idea was I would have Farmer Tom certified farms and farmers. Will they be able to use my branding, marketing, and distribution chains? And I thought I had my logo up there, but I don't. And so that's what I've been working on now. Looks like I'm going to be a partner on a processor's license in Washington, which I'm really excited about, and that's going to give me the vehicle to help small farmers out. And we're going to start in Washington. I'm working with the farm here in Oregon, Panda Farms, Ghost Farmer Tom. So, and I'm looking to do a couple in California too, and I'm working in one on Maryland. So that's the kind of approach I want to do. I want to be able to help a lot of farmers grow really good products and help them sell it and help them stay on their farms. I'm really all about the small farmer, and you know, really farmers, when I got into this, I just want to stay on my farm and farm. And basically that's what farmers want to do. They don't want to brand and market. They don't want to go to all these shows. They don't want to do. They want to take their kids to the bus stop. They want to have dinner with their kids in the afternoon, and they want to grow their stuff, and they want to, like, there you go, you deal with it now. Instead of them sitting on it and having to deal with it. And this is where we come in. You know, I'm a huge proponent of nitrogen sealing. You know, if you partner up with me and we do some licensing deals, you know, I'll be the first one out there, like, making sure all this stuff is packaged properly for the future, so we have the best quality products coming down the road. You know, they're really doing a terrible job out there with curing in the whole rec world. They don't cure anymore at all, and they're losing a lot there. So I'm just going to make sure we put out the best products always. I'm going to have my own little Farmer Tom, like Farmer Tom certified farms and farmers. Basically, we've done a little certification, kind of like Clean Green, and yeah. So that's kind of what I'm out there doing. I'm kind of really excited about getting my products out on the Washington market. So that's where I came from, and that's my hometown. And we kind of ushered this whole thing in. And that, for me, will be bringing it full circle. So I'm really stoked about that.
When you said Washington Panda Farms, is that grow up?
Excuse me?
When you said Panda Farms, you're going to be working with Panda Farms?
Yes.
Grow up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, here in town. Yeah, they got a really clean operation down there in like Oregon City, Canby area.
Not in Washington?
No, that's Fat Panda.
Yeah.
So this is a different one. This is Panda Farms. They're an Oregon operation.
Are you working with anyone in Washington currently?
And who?
In Washington currently?
No.
Okay.
No, we're just, it's been a big year for me. Like last year, not only did we educate the federal government, but we had Billy Connolly come in. He's like a famous Scottish actor, comedian, and he did a Tracks Across America. So they called me at the same time and said, like in June, and said, can we come by I got a call from England. I'm all, okay. So I took it, and then she said they were doing this documentary where he travels around the country, seeing what's going on in each region. So they actually stopped at my farm for a day, and it was pretty exciting. So I had to get ready for that because I've done a bunch of videos. I think we got 78 different videos and marketing pieces out on the internet. You know what I mean? There's been 70 something different pieces done on me, and so anyways, I've been really fortunate and really blessed, and we just keep on going.
What size farm are you talking about?
As far as what?
Like to include in your range?
Well, tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, I really want to help the smaller to mid-range farmers. Not so much the big guys. I think they got the capital to buy their own brands, or to build, or to conjure up their own brands. So I just kind of want to help the small to medium farmers, the small family farmers. You know what I mean? I want to, especially in Oregon. That's the grassroots of Oregon. We lived down in Williams in the Applegate Valley for a couple of years after the arrest in San Diego. We lived in Southern Oregon for a couple of years before moving up to Washington, and so it's I have a lot of really great friends, and I'd like to see them all succeed. Instead of this, now there's a race to the bottom. There's too much cannabis out there, selling for 50 cents a gram. There's got to be some things, and it's it's manipulated. There's a bunch of players in the industry on all levels that are set to play the Walmart play. They have tens of millions of dollars ready to lose it, gladly lose it, so we could take over the market share. So what I want to do is I want to start up a really small, strong, Farmer Tom certified farmers and just kind of slowly build them. Put a couple out in each state and see how we can grow across the nation. Thank you. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for coming out. You guys are awesome. Stop by my booth. Take care, you guys. Thank you.